This week's gospel is a difficult one for many people to accept and understand, namely because it deals with a sensitive topic. Marriage, the greatest moment in many people's lives, and divorce, which is one of the greatest tragedies that two people can experience. But the thing I want to focus on from this gospel is I want to focus on the idea of the hardness of heart that Jesus mentions. St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the great theologians of our church, says that if we really love someone, it's to will their good. So loving somebody means to will the good of the other, which necessarily means that it's not a feeling. There are times when there's good feelings associated with it, but there are also times when there's some pretty negative feelings associated with it. We have to do something that we don't want for the betterment of someone else. But this hardening of heart comes about when we stop saying yes to God's invitation to put the other person or persons before ourselves. This hardening usually begins when there's areas of our life in which we've been hurt, when we've been let down in some way, or when things in our lives are not going the direction that we desire them to go. This hardening of our heart comes about as a way for us to kind of protect our hearts from getting hurt again, protect our egos from getting smashed down, and it leads to us acting in an interiorly selfish way instead of in a selfless way that we're called to live as baptized Christians. You can see how all of this begins to harm relationships, not just marriages, but all relationships. When we begin to act selfishly and to put ourselves before others, then things begin to spiral out of control. Unfortunately, the only way to address this hardness of heart that we experience is humility. That's the real H word, is humility. It's because it's difficult. If it were easy to be humble, we would all do it. The reason it's so difficult is because it means that we have to recognize that there's other people other than us and that we need to regard them as more important than we regard our own desires. Whenever we're put in a position where we need to humble ourselves, we're usually in a position in which we have screwed up in some way, in which we've hurt others, in ways in which we have not acted as the Christians that God is calling us to be. And so one of the things that we have to do is we have to choose love. Even if that love gets rejected, love anyways. Even if you look like an idiot, love anyways. Even if you have to eat the biggest slice of humble pie and it is bitter to the last crumb, love anyways. Choose to regard the other as more important than yourself. Still desire that the other person gets to heaven, even if when you go before them and, apologize or, show them some kindness and they get thrown back at you, still desire that they go to heaven. Still pray for them. Still choose to act charitably. You see, our culture is very, very good at teaching us to choose ourselves. For crying out loud, you can watch commercials and it's just like, you need the newest cell phone. You need the newest computer. Guess what you need? You need that lawyer to sue whatever company because your hip replacement gave out. They're very focused on you, and that teaches us to be very focused on us. And so, essentially what I'm asking you to be is countercultural. The world, it's no mystery to anybody that the world out there is very, very hurting. There's a lot of brokenness in today's world, and that's because there's a lot of selfishness. And it's really easy to look at other people and be like, they're acting selfishly. It's a little more difficult and a little more necessary to look at ourselves and be like, this area of my life is an area where I tend to act selfishly. And here's why I tend to act selfishly there. And even though I don't know how to go about acting more selflessly there, because I've operated from this position for a long time, those areas that Jesus came and died for. So it's those areas of our lives that we need to hand over to him. And if you can't hand it over to him, then you need to invite him into it. Because he doesn't want those areas to be areas that are separating you from him or you from others. He wants those to be areas where you can become a saint through his love and his mercy. So I'm asking you to become saints, asking you to be countercultural, and that necessarily involves the cross. And the cross isn't fun. I can't imagine that Jesus, when he embraced his cross and started walking to Calvary, he's like, this is good. This is great. No, it's painful. It hurts. There's a lot of rejection. But the thing is God became man and showed us how to live selflessly. When it came time for Christ to die, he didn't curl up into a ball. He opened up his arms and was nailed to a cross. And when they were putting the nails in his hands, he didn't try pushing them away. He just received them. Because he desired to have a relationship with you. Yes, you as a congregation, but you insert your name here personally. And he knew that he couldn't have that relationship with you unless he showed you how deep his love goes for you. And it's a love that conquers even death itself. He did that because he wants to be with you. He loves you. The fact that God loves you and the fact that he's loving you into existence is a deeper reality than the fact that you're sitting on pews right now. Except that kid running around in the darkness. It's a deeper reality than that. It's more real than that. He has a deep love for you, and he desires your relationships to reflect the relationship that he desires to have with you. Which means if we have relationships in our life, whether it be marriages or friendships or other familial relationships that are just kind of going down the tubes, need to go to God. Because God is loving that person into existence as well, and he's loving you into existence. And for some reason, he brought you two together. Which means that there's some part of his will that is involved in that. Which means if we want those relationships to be healed, we need to go to the one who originated them. We need to go to God. We need to invite him into those relationships. We need to allow ourselves to be humble and to allow the Lord to teach us how to put the other first, just as he did on that one Friday on Calvary. We need to allow the Lord to teach us how to love others the way that he desires us to love them and the way he desires the other to be loved. When I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about I know that there's people who are if there's abusive relationships or things like that, I'm not saying, hey, stick it up. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is we need to love the other and desire that they go to heaven. We can still pray for people who have harmed us. And that's when prayer kind of becomes heroic, is when somebody has detracted from our character, harmed us spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever. We can still desire that they go to heaven. We can still desire that they too can become saints. And so you might be sitting there thinking well, Father Adam, it's really easy for you to go up to the ambo and tell us here is how you fix all your relationships and stuff like that. But you don't know my situation. You are right. I don't know your situation. However, what I'm talking about is a universal. We need to will the good of the other for the other's sake. We need to desire that they go to heaven. We need to allow the Lord to teach our hearts how to love. We need to allow the Lord to teach us what he desires us to learn on the level of the heart. The fact is our culture needs more love. individual people that we know need more love, which means we need to allow ourselves to put them first, to place their needs before our own. We need to be selfless. We need to be saints. We need to choose God, allow Him to teach our hearts how to love Him and others, and ultimately allow Him to love us into the kingdom of heaven.